The piercing sound of alarms shattered the usual hum of activity in the Galactic Council's central monitoring hub, sharp and relentless. It echoed across the chamber of blinking consoles and ever-working machinery. Zephyr-9, the station's veteran chief operator, paused mid-command, all four of his arms freezing above their respective panels. His obsidian eyes locked onto the crimson warnings flashing in sequence. In over 3 centuries of loyal service, he had never encountered this. "Specific signal? What's going on?" asked his assistant, a young Vortani named Kess. Hush. Her silver-toned skin now shifting with anxiety as she drifted nearer. "I'm not sure," Zephyr-9 growled, his gravel-like voice strained. "The system's detecting something that shouldn't exist." The station orbited the Galactic Chorus strategic point where the Council oversaw the activity of thousands of civilizations. Their mission: observe emerging life forms and catalog the advancement of known species. For eons, they had mastered this role. There were no surprises left until now. Zephyr-9's lower hand swept over his interface while his upper limbs operated. Different controls. Streams of data scrolled rapidly across the holoscreens, revealing streams of complex information. His wide eyes widened further. "This can't be right," he muttered. "What can't?" Kess asked, peering at the display. "The signal is originating from the Sol system," he said, motioning to the screen. "That's not possible," Kess said, her gleaming skin dulling to a pale blue. "The Sol system is home to primitives. Our last update said they'd just begun using fire." "That's what our records show." Zephyr-9 nodded grimly. "But examine this transmission." On the screen appeared a series of interwoven symbols, structured equations, and calculated rhythm. This wasn't mere static or scattered waves. It was a carefully crafted message. "This is mathematics," he observed. "Familiar. Maybe it's an error," Kess offered. "A glitch in the system?" Zephyr-9 shook his head. "I ran diagnostics. All systems are functional. This message is real." He keyed in a few more commands, pulling up archived data about the solar system. The file was ancient, untouched for millennia. Earth, third from its sun, was cataloged as hosting a primitive race called humans. "When did we last scan this system?" he asked. "Our records show a probe passed by 2,000 years ago," Kess responded, checking a secondary panel. "At the time, they were just beginning agriculture and rudimentary housing." 2,000 years, Zephyr-9 repeated in disbelief. "That's no time at all. No species evolves this quickly." Yet the transmission persisted, stronger with every pulse, the data within. It wasn't just advanced. It was groundbreaking, solving theoretical dilemmas that Council scientists had debated for centuries. "We must alert the Council," Zephyr-9 declared. "But first, confirm whether other stations are picking this up." He established a wide-frequency link with 12 other observation outposts across the galaxy. Each station checked in. All had received the same baffling message. "This is Gamma 7, a voice crackled over the coms. "We're recording energy fluctuations from the Sol system, unlike anything on record." "Beta 3 reporting in," another said. "There's evidence of unknown propulsion systems impossible for a species supposedly still crafting wooden tools." "Alpha 12 here," added a third. "The mathematical logic in their message is beyond anything we've studied." Zephyr-9 felt a sinking sensation. If every station was confirming the data, then Earth had undeniably surged from Stone Age to hyper-advanced in just 2 millennia. "Kess, send an emergency transmission to the High Council," he ordered. "This needs immediate escalation." "Should I say?" she asked, fingers poised above her console. "Tell them Earth has made contact," he said gravely, "and that everything we believed about human evolution is incorrect." As she prepared the message, Zephyr-9 analyzed the data further. The content wasn't just technological lies, was mind-bending. Detailed blueprints outlined energy systems, powerful enough to sustain galaxies, adaptive materials with self-repairing properties. It's most startling, medical discoveries that could eliminate diseases plaguing the known universe for eons. "How is any of this possible?" he murmured. Then, a new section of the transmission began. Unlike the previous dense data, this was simple, deliberate, as if meant for children. To those receiving this message, it read, "We are the humans of Earth. We are aware you've been observing us. Your records may still label us primitive, but we're not anymore. We've uncovered truths that changed our path. We've discovered things we didn't expect. Now we are ready to meet you." Zephyrinine reread it multiple times. How did they know? The Council's surveillance was designed to be undetectable, Sir Kess interrupted. We've received a reply from the Council. They want to speak directly. Zephyrinine straightened and activated the link. The screen lit up, revealing Counselor Vex's senior Chronari official. His aged, bark-like skin and sunken yellow eyes radiated cautious authority. Zephyr 2-9, Vex rasped. "I've reviewed your message. Are you absolutely certain?" "Yes, Counselor," Zephyr 9 confirmed. 12 stations corroborate the signal. It's authentic." "That can't be," Vex responded. "The last Earth report said they were just above animal status." "With all due respect," Zephyr -9 replied, "the signal's content shows knowledge beyond our own." The Elder Counselor remained silent for a moment, contemplating. "When was our last interaction with them?" 2,000 years, sir." Zephyr 9 replied, "Even with external assistance." "This rate of development contradicts all known models," Vex said slowly. Sir Kess interjected. "The signal is intensifying. They're shifting to full galactic communication protocol." "Full protocol?" Vex's expression darkened. "They know our language structure?" "Yes," Zephyrinine said. "They've adapted to our systems flawlessly." "That's unprecedented," Vex said, voice heavy. "No civilization has ever contacted us before we contacted them. They're not even supposed to know we exist." "They know," Counselor Zephyrinine said. "They're waiting." "Do not respond," Vex ordered. "We need consensus. Meanwhile, keep observing. Record everything." The screen blinked off, leaving the station in tense silence as the stream of information continued. Earth's data bursts now included stellar maps of their galactic sector. Historical logs confirmed they'd achieved this scientific leap in just 50 years, not thousands. 50 years, Zephyrinine said, stunned. "That's unbelievable." "No species can evolve that fast," Kess whispered. "Tell that to the humans," ZEPHR-9 muttered. Then another message arrived, brief but chilling. "We know you're watching. We know you're debating. Please know, we come in peace. We seek knowledge, not war. We are ready to share what we've learned, and we're eager to learn from you." Zephyrinine leaned back. The tone wasn't boastful or fearful. It was calm, respectful, equal. "What kind of species behaves like this?" he asked aloud. "I don't know," Kess answered, eyes wide. "There's no precedent for this." As if in response, yet another message appeared. "We are the kind of species that makes the impossible possible. We learn from failure and grow. Stronger. We believe in unity, not conquest. We are human, and we are ready." Zephyrinine stared long and hard at the message. Then he turned to Kess, speechless. Kess stared back at Zephyrinine, her wide eyes mirroring his own sense of awe. Zephyr spoke slowly, each word heavy with realization. "I think the galaxy is about to change forever." The signal from Earth kept pouring in steady, confident, and filled with a kind of quiet defiance. This was something the Galactic Council had never faced before. For the first time in its ancient history, it wasn't the Council deciding when or how first contact would occur. The humans had taken that right into their own hands boldly, unpredictably, and completely on their own terms. Everything the Council believed about control and oversight was now being challenged by a civilization that had, in just 5 decades, treated the impossible as nothing more than puzzles waiting to be solved. And this was just the beginning. Far away, Admiral Korak stood tall on the bridge of the Council's most advanced warship, the Eternal Vigilance. His gaze locked on the shifting tactical display in front of him, his 6 eyes independently tracking the strange new vessels that had appeared at the very boundary of Council territory. Each eye registered a different perspective, but all 6 reflected the same disbelief. "Explain again what we're looking at," he said, turning to Lieutenant Pre, the science officer. Pre, a small azure being with writhing tentacles in place of arms, adjusted his interface and answered, 3 ships exited hyperspace 12 hours ago, Admiral. They've remained stationary 1 light-hour from our perimeter. What kind of ships? Korax asked, though he already feared the answer. Design is unfamiliar, sir, Pre said. But the energy signatures match those originating from the Sol system. Korax felt a chill run down his spine. The message from Earth had arrived just 3 days earlier. Since then, the council chambers had been locked in endless debate. Some called for diplomacy, others warned of danger, few even recommended preemptive force. In the end, they chose to observe. Let the humans reveal their intentions. Now they had. How large are the vessels? Korax asked. Each one is roughly 2 kilometers in length, Pre replied. But the size isn't the strangest part. Korax narrowed his eyes. Then what is? Our instruments cannot identify the material they're made of. Their outer layers, they shift, almost as though alive. No fixed readings, Admiral. The Admiral moved closer to the central screen. The 3 ships floated in a flawless triangular formation, utterly alien in design. Council ships were defined by geometry and machinery, symmetry and function. These looked alive, their hulls shimmered like liquid, and ambient light pulsed across them in mesmerizing waves. The surface wasn't static, it breathed. Are they shielded? Korax asked. Negative, sir, Pre answered. There's no indication of contact shielding. It appears their hulls serve multiple functions, including defense, but the mechanism is unfamiliar. And weapons. None detected, Admiral, but to be honest, we're detecting very little at all. It wasn't reassuring. Korax had served in the fleet for over 4 centuries. He had seen every kind of warship known across the stars. Some built for speed, others for intimidation. But nothing like this. Admiral called the comms officer. We're receiving a transmission from the central ship. On screen, Korax commanded. The display shifted. Instead of a conventional bridge, the image revealed something unexpected natural. Trees, flowers, and grass grew freely around. Curved, high-tech interfaces. A gentle stream flowed through the center of the room, bordered by stones and moss. In the middle stood a figure undeniably human. Korax had seen archived images of humans. But this was his first time facing one. Directly. The being was tall, lightly built, with pale skin and hair clustered only on the crown. Her clothing seemed to flow with subtle color changes as she moved. Greetings, she said in flawless galactic standard. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth's vessel Harmony. We request entry into council space for peaceful exploration. Korax stood speechless for a moment, processing both the image and the implications. I am Admiral Korax of the Council Defense Fleet, he finally replied. How do you know our language? Captain Chen smiled, a human gesture of goodwill, if the archives were correct. We've been monitoring your communications for some time. Your language is elegant. Once the underlying patterns are understood, it's quite logical. Been intercepting council transmissions? Korax asked, his tone tightening. Yes, Chen answered calmly. They're encrypted with quantum-level protocols, quite advanced. It took us nearly 3 weeks to decode them. Korax felt his equilibrium waver. Those encryption systems had taken generations to develop, and the humans had unraveled them in under a month. Captain Chen, Korax said, choosing his words. Carefully, our sensors cannot classify the material your ships are built from. What exactly are we looking at? She nodded. We call it adaptive matter. It modifies its structure in real time based on environmental needs. Currently, it's optimized for deep space travel and radiation resistance. But it can transform. For other functions, it can become anything. Almost anything, she said. We're still discovering its full potential. We only developed it 47 years ago. Korax blinked. He had been studying ship engineering longer than humans. Had possessed this material, and yet he could barely grasp its surface-level mechanics. Captain, I must ask that you remain at your current coordinates while I inform the Council of your arrival. Of course, Chen replied smoothly. We understand. Quite unexpected. We will await your instructions. The screen went dark. silence settled over the bridge. Officers moved with quiet urgency, but Korax could feel the tension rising. "Lieutenant Pre," he said finally, "inform the council." "Yes, Admiral." Pre quickly began preparing the report. "And what should I say exactly?" "Tell them everything we assumed about humans was wrong." As Pre transmitted the message, Korax returned to the visual feed of the alien vessels. The longer he stared, the less he understood. Their form didn't match any engineering logic. There were no external engines, yet they had crossed vast space in mere days. No visible armaments, yet every instinct told him they were dangerous far. "Beyond appearances, Admiral," said the tactical officer suddenly. "One of the human ships is scanning us." "What kind of scan?" Korax asked sharply. "Unidentified." "It's examining our systems with precision, but we don't know how it's doing it." Before Korax could respond, the comms lit up again. Captain Chen's image reappeared. "Admiral Korax, please forgive our scan. We were curious about your vessel systems. Shall we cease?" Korax was stunned. Their scan had already completed, and they had the courtesy to ask after. "It's acceptable," he replied. "But may I ask, what have you learned?" "Your ship is quite remarkable," Chen said. "Your fusion cores are efficient. Energy shielding method is clever classic radial balance. It's a little dated by our standards, but still very capable." Dated, the Eternal Vigilance was the crown jewel of the Council fleet. It's built with the most advanced technologies of the last 1,000 years, and to the humans, it was already obsolete. "Captain," Korax asked, "how long have your people been exploring interstellar space?" "This is our first mission beyond our solar system," she answered. Korax's 6 eyes focused instantly. "Your first time?" "Yes," she said. "We wanted our first meeting to reflect our best effort. These 3 ships are just prototypes." Prototypes. Korax could barely imagine what their actual fleet would look like. Sir Pre called from his console. "Priority message from the council chambers." "Put it through," Korax ordered. The display changed again. "Counselor." Vex appeared, his ancient bark-like skin even darker than before, and his weary yellow eyes filled with concern. "Admiral Korax," Vex said gravely. "What is the status?" Korax stood straight. "The humans have arrived, sir. 3 vessels. Unknown configuration. Requesting access to our territory," Korax reported flatly. "Are they aggressive?" Counselor Vex asked. "No, sir. If anything, they're extremely courteous. Almost too courteous." Vex's bark-colored skin shifted slightly. "Too courteous." Korax hesitated before responding. "Sir, they're addressing us as equals. Not in awe, not fearful, simply confident. Like this encounter is routine for them."
Yes.
There was a pause. That is not typical. Most species are either defensive or overwhelmed during first contact.
Ow.
These humans are neither. They seem genuinely pleased to be here. "What of their capabilities?" Vex asked. Korax exhaled slowly. "Their technology exceeds anything in our archives. Their ships are built from programmable matter, adaptable on demand. They decrypted our highest security protocols in 3 weeks. They scanned the Eternal Vigilance and concluded our tech was outdated." Vex's skin darkened almost too black. "Outdated." "Yes, sir. And according to their captain, these are just early models. Prototypes. This is their first interstellar journey." Admiral Vex went quiet. Then, with slow gravity, he said, "Escort them to the council chambers. Do not treat them as prisoners, but do not lose sight of them either. We must learn what we're dealing with." "Yes, Counselor. Standing by." "No sudden moves, Admiral. If their technology is as advanced as it appears, provocation would be unwise." The communication closed. Korax turned to his helm. "Open a channel to the human flagship." "Captain Chen," he said, "the Council has agreed to receive you. Would you be willing to accompany us to our capital?" "We would be honored," Chen replied smoothly. "Shall we follow your lead?" "That would be appropriate. Be advised, the journey through hyperspace will take several days. Our ships are more than comfortable for long-range travel, Admiral." "Very well. Maintain formation and match." "Our velocity." Korax gave a short nod to his navigator. The eternal vigilance shifted into motion, gliding toward the jump gate. Behind them, the 3 human vessels followed with perfect ESYNCHRON. As they traveled, Karax couldn't help but watch the human ships on the display. They moved like dancers across a stage, graceful, serene, unlike any warships he'd ever seen. Each surface shimmered with an alien beauty, sleek and fluid. These ships weren't just powerful, they were art. And despite having been built by a species the Council had dismissed as primitive, they now threatened to overturn everything, Captain. Chen had said they were still learning what their technology could do. Karax couldn't stop wondering what would they reveal next. What other impossibilities had they quietly turned into mundane realities? The journey continued in tense silence. The Grand Council chamber had not seen such a stir in over 10 millennia. Representatives from 847 civilizations filled the vast circular hall. The sound of their diverse languages spoken, clicked, pulsed, and flash created a cacophony of tension and excitement at the center. Councillor Vex stood on the main podium, struggling to maintain order. His ancient body language was tight with stress. Please, esteemed representatives, maintain composure. The human delegation is en route. This is insane, bellowed Councillor Vex, a boulder-like being with a voice that rumbled like an avalanche. We cannot allow primitives into this sacred space. They're no longer primitives, Councillor Zur countered, her crystalline form glowing softly. The reports from Admiral Korax are very specific. Reports can be wrong, Vex snapped. Our historical records clearly show they were forging tools and cooking with fire just 2,000 years ago. And yet, Zur replied, they now operate vessels beyond our comprehension. Something has changed. At the rear of the chamber, Councillor Nexus floated in a pressurized tank of green mist. The gaseous being vibrated a series of tones through his medium. The relevant question is not what changed, but how so rapidly. No species evolves this fast on its own, said Councillor Rift, a thin metallic humanoid with mirrored skin. Yet no known external force could have assisted them, Zur pointed out. We would have detected such involvement. The chamber buzzed with debate. Some argued the humans were a threat. Others thought they might be refugees from another galaxy. A few whispered ancient legends that perhaps the humans were descendants of the mythical predecessors. Most dismissed such thoughts as fantasy then. The main doors opened. Admiral Korax entered, dressed in formal attire and visibly uncomfortable. Behind him, 3 human figures followed, and the chamber went utterly silent. None of the humans wore protective gear that should have been fatal. The chamber atmosphere was an engineered blend of gases to accommodate hundreds of species. Most visitors required suits or breathing devices. Some sections had radiation levels fatal to unprotected organic life. Others fluctuated in pressure or gravity, but the humans walked unimpeded. Their clothes shimmered subtly as they moved, shifting form to adapt to the invisible hazards around them. The lead human was a middle-aged woman with silvered hair and calm, kind eyes. She carried herself with calm dignity. Following her was a younger man with dark skin and an inquisitive gaze, and a third human who defied binary biological labels, graceful and androgynous. Admiral Korax raised his voice, steamed. Council, I present to you Ambassador Chen of Earth, accompanied by her advisors, Dr. Williams and Dr. Patel. Ambassador Chen stepped forward and bowed slightly. Somehow, the simple motion translated as respectful across every culture present. Greetings to the Galactic Council, she said, her voice warm and clear. We are honored to stand among you. Then, something astonishing happened. Each species heard her voice in their own Tage language. The Vortani perceived harmonized musical tones. The Canari heard rustling wood. Nexus perceived it as nuanced vibrations. Each representative heard her in a form tailored to their unique senses. Vex stepped forward, visibly stunned. Ambassador Chunhao, are you communicating with all of us? Developed a universal translation system, she answered. It reads neural and sensory pathways in real time, then adapts output to the appropriate medium. We didn't want to force our language upon anyone. Vex blinked slowly. We've been attempting that feat for millions of years, doing most advanced. Systems among us can support a dozen languages simultaneously. Chen offered a modest smile. Yes, it's not easy. Ours has only been working properly for 6 months. Gasps and sudden noises erupted from the chamber. That statement alone meant the humans had surpassed a technological frontier that the Council had only dreamed of breaching. Silence? Vex called again, his voice amplified. Ambassador, please proceed to the speaker's platform. Jen. Walk to the central platform. The chamber watched as she moved freely through all region zones of intense radiation, crushing gravity and corrosive atmospheres. Her clothing adapted with each step, thickening, lightening, filtering as needed. How is this possible? Counselor Zara whispered to a neighboring reptilian delegate. Her clothing, Hask replied. It's adjusting to every local condition. It's alive. Chen stood tall on the speaker's platform. Her eyes met dozens of others' eyes of every shape and number. She radiated calm. Members of the council, she began. We come not seeking charity or assistance. We come as neighbors offering peace and collaboration. Understand that our development appears impossible. We know our capabilities defy your models of advancement. We are here to explain how this came to be and to share what we've learned. A deep voice cut in from Nexus section. You claim to have developed all of this in just decades. That's scientifically untenable. How do you explain that? Chen nodded. It's a fair question. The answer is simple, though the implications are not. We did not create this knowledge. We discovered it. Discovered, Vex asked. Where on our moon? Chen replied. 53 years ago, our exploration teams uncovered buried ruins beneath the lunar surface. The chamber tensed. We spent the first 3 years just trying to open the structures without destroying them. The technology was so advanced, we could barely recognize it as technology at all. But slowly, we began to learn. What did you find? Counselor Rift asked. Chen gave a faint, thoughtful smile. Everything. She gestured to her advisors. Dr. Williams stepped forward. The structures belonged to a species known as the Shapers. According to their records, they existed millions of years ago, far before any council civilization. Dr. Patel continued. They left behind not just tools, but explanations. Not just schematics, but philosophies. We've spent 5 decades studying their knowledge, reverse engineering it, and when possible improving upon it. Nexus vibrated rapidly in his tank. The Shapers, that name appears in our most ancient myths. They were said to be the originators, the first civilization. Believe that's true? Chen said. Our records indicate they explored and colonized thousands of worlds, Chen explained. They were everywhere. But then, something happened. Their civilization didn't decline, it vanished. What happened to them? Vex asked. His voice unusually quiet. We don't know, Chen admitted. The final logs we recovered spoke of a great danger, something that threatened all life in the galaxy. They made preparations to preserve their knowledge. They hid it, hoping others would one day find it, then silence. The record's end. A heavy stillness fell over the chamber. The implications were staggering. If humanity had indeed inherited the knowledge of the first great civilization, it would explain their meteoric rise. But it also raised a darker possibility: whatever had ended the Shapers might return. Ambassador Chen, Counselor Zur, spoke with care. Why come forward now? I reveal yourselves to us. Chen's smile was both soft and sorrowful. Because the Shapers left warnings. Their records describe this threat as cyclical, returning every few million years. And by their calculations, the next cycle is beginning. How soon? X asked, though every fiber of his being hoped the answer would be vague. Within the next 1,000 years, Chen replied. Perhaps much sooner. A murmur passed through the chamber. They believed only a united galaxy could survive what is coming, she continued. Their technology was never meant to empower a single species, it was meant to prepare all of us. And you think humanity should lead this preparation? Vex asked sharply. Not lead, Chen said firmly. Join. The Shapers warned that no one species could face this alone. We must cooperate, share knowledge, support each other, and stand together. Dr. Williams stepped forward. To show our sincerity, we've brought gifts technologies that may help you understand our intentions. These include medical nanites that can cure any illness or injury, quantum energy converters that require no fuel or waste, and instantaneous communication devices that defy distance. Why offer them freely? Dr. Patel added. No conditions, no payment, only a request to help us prepare for what's coming. The silence that followed was absolute. These humans, once thought primitive, were offering miracles. They hadn't come to conquer or beg, they'd come as equals, extending a hand to the galaxy. But behind the gesture was a terrible truth. Something powerful enough to destroy the Shapers was approaching, and the galaxy's survival depended on cooperation from species who had never done anything but compete. Ambassador Chen stood in the center of it all, composed, but not without sorrow. Knew not everyone would heed the warning. Not everyone would survive. Beneath the council chambers, a restricted demonstration hall had been hastily prepared. Dozens of representatives crowded the space, surrounding tables on which the humans had placed small, gleaming devices each, one no larger than a droplet of quicksilver. Ambassador Chen addressed the crowd. These are examples of Shaper technology. We've adapted. What you see here are medical nanites, microscopic machines designed to detect and repair biological damage. Counselor Vex leaned over one display, studying the shimmering silver bead. How do they function? Dr. Williams stepped in. They scan the host's biology, identify problems, injury, disease, genetic issues, even psychosomatic trauma, and begin repairs at the cellular level. It's impossible, scoffed Dr. Krex, the council's top medical advisor. His tall, sinewy frame towered over most, and his rubbery blue skin rippled in agitation. No universal repair system can account for the diversity of galactic biology, they learn, Dr. Patel replied. The Shapers designed them to adapt to any life form. Each nanite builds a species-specific repair protocol from observation. Krex stepped closer, skeptically inspecting the device. You're saying this can fix anything? Chen nodded. We've used them extensively. Paralysis, terminal illness, degenerative conditions, even brain damage. If the brain isn't completely destroyed, the nanites can restore full function. A new ripple of shocked murmuring passed through the room. Medical officers of various species surged forward. May we test them? Krex asked. Of course, Chen said, but we recommend starting with minor injuries. First-time treatments can be intense. Krex's eyes scanned the room and landed on Lieutenant Voss, a young Dryan officer whose arm had been rendered useless by a training mishap years ago. Lieutenant, he said, would you volunteer? Voss hesitated but stepped forward. His gray skin and obsidian black eyes revealed no emotion, but his posture was stiff with nerves. What do I need to do? Just rest your injured limb here, Dr. Williams instructed. Voss placed his arm on the polished surface. Williams picked up the silver droplet and gently pressed it to the young officer's skin. Instantly, the nanite spread across his arm like flowing metal, forming a thin silver shell. I feel something, Voss murmured. Warmth and tingling. They're analyzing your tissue, Dr. Patel explained. The repair process will begin shortly. For several minutes, the silver layer remained motionless. Then Voss twitched. His fingers flexed. Slowly, shakily, he moved his wrist. Color returned to his pallid skin, and the previously limp arm came to life. I can feel again, he whispered, his voice cracking. The pain is gone. I can move. The silver coating receded, leaving behind a fully restored limb. The chamber was still. Then Krex spoke, awestruck. In 4 decades of medicine, I've never seen regeneration like this. The nerve damage was irreparable. The nanites rebuilt damaged nerves using the subject's genetic blueprint, Williams said calmly. What about systemic conditions? Asked Dr. Thera, a floral-looking being whose petals quivered with concern. Diseases that affect the whole body? We've tested them all, Chen replied. Cancer, genetic disorders, autoimmune syndromes, aging itself, aging, Krex asked. To a point, Patel explained. The nanites reverse cellular decay, extending healthy lifespan. But they don't grant immortality. A human might live 200 years instead of 100, but not forever. As more doctors stepped forward, questions flew: undosage, rejection, ethical constraints. The humans answered each with clarity, backed by volumes of data. But while the medical demonstration continued, Chen noticed Vex drifting to another table. There, Dr. Williams had placed a small crystalline cube. "What is this?" Vex asked. "An energy converter," Chen replied, joining him. "It harvests power from quantum fluctuations in vacuum space." Vex frowned. "But empty space contains no energy," actually, Williams said. "It does." Quantum mechanics predicts a constant sea of virtual particles. The Shapers found a way to extract energy from this quantum foam. "How much energy?" asked Engineer TH, a massive being of living metal. Patel activated the cube. A soft blue glow emerged, and floating numbers appeared above it, indicating power output. "This small device can power a city," he said. "Larger models can sustain planetary systems." Engineer TH's metallic surface pulsed golden, indicator of intense excitement. "This violates conservation of energy." "No," Chen said. "It obeys it. The energy exists already, it's simply unused." Converters draw from a limitless, omnipresent reservoir. "No fuel?" asked. "No waste?" "None," Williams confirmed. "They work anywhere in space, require no maintenance, and last millions of years." Engineers from a dozen species converged, deploying scanners and instruments from their bodies or suits. Technical discussions erupted, too complex for most to follow. At another station, a dark, polished sphere drew attention. "This is a communication node," Chen explained. "It enables real-time interaction across any distance, even across galaxies. Faster-than-light messaging violates relativity," objected Chief Communications Officer Renth, a being made of shifting geometric forms. "Information cannot move faster than light." "It doesn't," Williams replied. "The nodes create quantum-linked reference states. They don't transmit signals, they align them. No travel required." The implications hit like thunder. The humans weren't bending rules, they were replacing assumptions. Chen stood at the center of it, all fielding questions, offering miracles. But her voice remained steady, because the gift she offered came with a warning. The galaxy had been living in complacent mastery, believing it understood the universe. Now that illusion had ended. The Shapers were gone. The threat that ended them might be near, and only united would the galaxy survive what was coming next. "Quantum entanglement only works over short ranges," Renth objected, his geometrically shifting body rippling with uncertainty. "Ordinarily, yes," Dr. Williams agreed. "But the predecessors developed something called dimensional anchor structures that exist outside of space-time entirely. These anchors stabilize entangled particles over any distance. With them, distance becomes meaningless." Ambassador Chen touched the black sphere on the table. It emitted a gentle hum. "We have similar communication nodes aboard our ships and on Earth. With your permission, we can demonstrate real-time contact with our homeworld." "Earth is hundreds of light years away," Renth said skeptically. "Even our fastest signals take months." "Would you like to speak with someone from Earth now?" Chen asked, before Renth could reply. The device spoke in perfect galactic standard. "This is Dr. Zhang at Earth Central Communications. Ambassador Chen, we're receiving you clearly. Is the demonstration proceeding smoothly?" A stunned silence followed. Officers stared in disbelief as the voice from Earth continued, calm and casual. Dr. Zhang Chen said, "Please inform our guests of the current time on Earth. It's 3:47 p.m. Earth Standard Time. Our orbital sensors confirm your position. Communication delay is 0 seconds." Renth's shape collapsed into a perfect cube, the equivalent of fainting in his species. Around the room, representatives examined the human devices. Each one contradicted centuries of established science. The medical nanites defied known biology. The energy converters seemed to break thermodynamics. The spheres bypassed light speed limitations. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect was how freely the humans shared them. Every question was answered. Every principle explained. The devices were offered openly to anyone who wanted them. Ambassador Chen, Vex said slowly, "Why give all this away? You could become the most powerful species in the galaxy." Chen looked around the chamber, because power is meaningless if we're all dead. The predecessors had all this and more, but it didn't save them. "We believe that only unity among civilizations can stop what's coming." "And what is coming?" asked Counselor Rift, his polished metal body glowing faintly with unease. Dr. Williams stepped forward, somber. "The predecessor records describe entities they called the Devourers. They exist outside normal space-time and consume the life energy of galaxies. They return every 4 million years," added Dr. Patel. "They destroy all biological life, then retreat into their own dimension. The predecessors calculated that the next incursion will occur within the next 1,000 years. "And you believe we can stop them?" Vex asked. "No," Chen said, "but we believe we can survive." The predecessors left blueprints, vast defensive networks, planetary shields, dimensional anchors. But building them will require the combined effort of every advanced species. Alone, no one survives. The chamber grew still again. The humans had not come to dominate or manipulate. They had come with a dire warning and the means to prepare. But preparation demanded cooperation between species that had never cooperated, that had barely tolerated each other. Could they change in time? 3 months later, the galaxy had changed more than it had in the last 1,000 years. Ambassador Chen stood once again in the Great Assembly. This time, she was not met with suspicion or cold stares, but with attention, cooperation, and hope. The Chamber's new communication systems allowed her to speak directly into every mind in their native language. "Honored Council," she began, "we are here to review our progress and chart the path forward. In just 90 days, the humans' technology had spread across Council space with staggering speed. Medical nanites were curing diseases previously thought incurable. Worlds long plagued by energy shortages now thrived with clean, limitless power. Real-time communication linked every corner of the galaxy. But even more astonishing, ancient enemies were working together. The Altarian shipyards have completed the first prototype defense station, announced Admiral Korax, now head of the Joint Defense Initiative. It combines human energy cores, Vortani shielding, and Chronari structural systems. A massive image appeared on the central display. The station was inspiring its architecture, a blend of beauty and raw menace, curved in ways that bent perception, bristling with power. "How powerful is it?" asked Vex, now a vocal supporter. "It can protect an entire system, but we'll need hundreds more. Production is scaling up. 17 species have contributed manufacturing," reported Engineer Thok, his once skeptical body now gleaming. "With pride, with human fabrication tech, construction is progressing faster than expected." Dr. Williams took the floor. "The stations are just one part. We're building early warning networks across the galaxy. We now have sensor outposts in nearly every star system," said Chief Communicator Renth, his form upgraded with human processing systems. "They're linked by instantaneous communication. Detection coverage will reach 100% within 6 months." "If evacuation is needed," Counselor Zara asked, her crystal form refracting light with anxiety. Dr. Patel brought up a new display, vast, sleek ships. "We've developed evacuation vessels each, capable of carrying millions at faster than light speeds. They use hybrid life support systems from 50 species. Entire populations can survive aboard for years if necessary. They can also construct new colonies on any habitable world," added Dr. Williams. But the most profound change wasn't. Technological aid was cultural. Species once locked in war now shared tools, ideas, and dreams. Bortani scientists and Chronari engineers collaborated. Altarian artisans refined human designs. "Perhaps our greatest achievement," Chen said, "is that we've learned to cooperate. For the first time, we are a united galaxy." Vex stood, his bark-like skin now healthy from nanite treatments. "Humans have shown us something vital, that our differences are not weaknesses, but strengths. When we discovered the ruins, Chen said, we could have hoarded the technology, used it for conquest or profit. But the predecessor logs taught us a simple truth: assimilation is extinction. They were brilliant, Dr. Williams added. But they were alone. They had eliminated or absorbed every other civilization. When the devourers came, they had no allies. No second opinions, no backup. But now, Patel said, we have thousands of minds, thousands of strategies. We can build better than the predecessors ever dreamed because we do it together. Progress reports streamed in. Altarian worlds now produced evacuation ships by the hundreds. Vortani planets generated enough energy to power dozens of defense stations. Chronari academies trained cross-species engineers, even more remarkably young. Beings from every species now attended interstellar schools, learning each other's histories, cultures, and languages. A new generation was being raised not in fear of difference, but in celebration of unity. What is our readiness level? Asked Counselor Rift. Admiral Corax consulted his pad. 47 stations completed, 12 more each month. The sensor network covers 80% of known space. Evacuation ships can now transport over 1 billion beings, and more are being built every day. And the weapon systems? Counselor Nexus asked, his voice enhanced by new human bioacoustics. This is where our unity has produced the most. Dramatic results, said Dr. Williams. Each species brought their own weapons technology. Combined with predecessor blueprints, we've surpassed even their capabilities. The Ilarium plasma cannons, reported Corax, enhanced by quantum conversion cores, can destroy objects the size of moons. Vortani shields, now bolstered by chronar alloys, can protect entire planets. Drillion sensors, upgraded with quantum processors, can see through dimensions. But our strongest weapon, said Chen quietly, is our unity. The chamber fell still. The Devourers defeated the predecessors because they fought alone, Dr. Patel said. They won't be ready for what we've become. They expect uniformity, Williams added. We offer diversity. They expect isolation. We bring alliance. When will they arrive? Asked Engineer Thettel, his body silver with resolve. Between 500 and 800 years, Patel answered. But we prepare as if they come tomorrow. Are we warning other galaxies? Zara asked. We've launched long-range probes, Chen. Confirmed if others exist, they deserve to know. We won't make the mistake of thinking survival is ours alone. That's very human, Rift observed. Worrying about strangers you'll never meet. It's not just human, Chen said. It's what intelligence should do. Progress reports continued. New shipyards, new energy networks, new schools. But, most importantly, a new galactic identity was forming, one rooted not in dominance, but in survival through unity. We've achieved something remarkable, Chen said as the session closed. Not just survival, not just defense, but hope. A civilization stronger together than it ever was apart. Vex nodded. The galaxy our children inherit will be nothing like the one we knew. And that is the greatest victory of all. As the delegates filed out, they carried more than blueprints or strategies. They carried the knowledge that they were no longer alone. The Devourers would return. But this time, would not find a fractured galaxy. They would find a united front. And it all began with 3 ships. And a species that dared to believe cooperation could change the fate of everything.